Have you ever thought about what life could look like after the 9 to 5 grind? I've been dreaming about retiring early for the past decade, and I'm at the point where it's just around the corner. In fact, I'm thinking now in terms of which month I will put in my notice, leave my job, and start a new phase in life. I'm really excited about early retirement and what the future has in store, but I do have some concerns too. And I found that the closer and more real this gets, the more I've been thinking about what could go wrong. I'm an optimistic person, but I do have concerns. At the end of this video, I'll share what I tell myself to get past them. But first, here are my top 3 concerns about early retirement. Concern number 1 is that the market will tank. Obviously, this could be a big problem. Now, I plan to withdraw from my portfolio for a large portion of my income in early retirement, and if the market doesn't tank, well, all is well. But my plan does rely on the market staying relatively stable over a long period of time. Meanwhile, financial firm Goldman Sachs recently predicted a 3% nominal return over the next 10 years. And just so we're clear, 3% is a dismal return for the market. It would barely keep pace with inflation. Now, the S&P 500 has returned closer to 13% over the past 10 years, and the average annualized return the index has seen over its entire existence is around 10.25%. So where are they coming up with 3%? It's almost like these guys haven't even heard of artificial intelligence. That's a joke, sort of. According to this article, the firm cited valuations, extreme market concentration, and more regular economic contractions. And it's like, GTFO, Goldman Sachs. I don't want to hear this kind of stuff, especially because I don't believe that you have any better ability to predict the future of the stock market than me or anyone else. That is, I don't believe you can. And yet I hear predictions like this, which I know are pure speculation, but when it comes from a respected financial firm, it still plants this seed of doubt and worry in my mind. I start thinking that maybe I just got lucky and started investing at the right time, and now it's all downhill from here. But I also know that if the market outpaces inflation by even just a few percent, everything will be okay. And if the S&P 500 really is ending its golden decade, well, at least I was there and investing all along during this golden era, which really helped fuel my progress to get to the point where I'm at. Now, I can deal with lower long-term returns, as long as the very worst of those returns don't come at the start of my early retirement when I start pulling money out of my portfolio. That's called a sequence of returns risk. It can really derail your early retirement plan, and it would not be good. If the market does tank, though, the worst case scenario is going back to work, which is the position I'm in right now. But if things do get really bad economically, will a job be available for me? I'm actually not too worried about that. While the job market may fluctuate, I'm confident that I could find work if needed. It helps that once you have a big enough nest egg, you don't need to earn that much to supplement and maintain a basic lifestyle. In my area of Colorado, the minimum wage is set to increase to $18.81 in 2025, which would amount to over $3,000 per month for full-time work. Even that amount is plenty more than I need to supplement my nest egg, even if that nest egg does deplete slightly. But I'd be much more likely to try to figure something out that doesn't involve getting a job, if at all possible. And while I worry about market volatility, there's another significant financial concern on my mind as well. Concern number 2 is that having more time in early retirement will lead to more spending. Early retirement is all about taking back your time, and having more time for yourself is great. But I do worry that boredom and needing to do something with that additional time will lead to more spending. Like, that extra time will be a vacuum that needs to be filled with something. Going to work, whether it's to the office or working from home, which is kind of like being under house arrest, these things keep me out of trouble, spending-wise. I don't have the time or ability to go out and spend money. There's always Amazon and online shopping or whatever, but that's not really been a problem for me. But when I have more time to go out and about and try to keep myself entertained, that's when this could become a problem. And why am I worried about spending? Well, higher spending could derail my plan and send me back to a traditional job. Look at it this way. Every $100 of extra spending each month is $30,000 more that needs to be saved or invested. This is according to a basic 4% rule calculation. The point is, even seemingly insignificant spending increases can have a big impact when it's done month after month, year after year. An unexpected expense here or there probably won't derail things at all. There's enough cushion in my plan that I'm not too worried about that. But if there's a pattern, if it turns into what I would call chronic overspending, well, that would be a problem. And I really don't want to take on new habits in early retirement that lead me to chronic overspending. If anything, I hope to spend more time doing things that I enjoy, but that also bring value to myself or to others, or even earn me money on the side. Basically, I don't want to turn from a producer to a consumer. It's important that I stay on the side of producing and creating things and not get sucked down into the trap of consumerism, whether it's out of boredom or because it's the path of least resistance. But I do worry about this, about being bored in early retirement and eventually turning to
the dark side, which in this case is the spendy side.
Now, in this video, I talked about a day that I spent that seemed like a practice run for early retirement. I found that it wasn't easy to find something to do out in the world by myself that didn't involve spending money. And I realized that it's important to have social connections in early retirement and have activities to do that are fulfilling and also don't cost much money. I might also find myself traveling more in early retirement. I mean, I hope I do. This is part of my plan. There could be more family vacations in the summer, more trips to visit friends and family throughout the year because I'll have the time and because I can. Maybe even more 3-day weekends up to the mountains, day trips, and that sort of thing. I know that little trips like these can add up fast, and I might get restless just being home so often. I have the tendency to get a little stir crazy, and that urge to get out there and see and do things could definitely lead to increased spending. Have you ever found yourself spending more when you had more free time? I mean, money is the easiest way to beat boredom, right? But there's got to be another way. And then there's one more issue that weighs on my mind, and that is discussing early retirement with others. I've talked before about this concern in other videos, and at this point, I've come around to the idea that I really don't care what most people think, and most people don't think that much about other people. They're not thinking about me nearly as much as I think they are. They care mostly about themselves. And even when I tell people what I actually do for a living right now, they either don't care, don't understand what I'm talking about, or they forget what I told them in like 5 minutes. Because they're thinking about the things that they care about, and they're thinking about themselves. Now, there are always creative ways to frame this discussion. One commenter recently suggested that I say I'm an asset manager. It's not a bad idea, but why do I need to discuss career so much anyway? What if I shift focus in a conversation from career to talk about what I'm excited about, whatever it is I'm doing? It doesn't have to be about what I do or did for a career. Now, the conversation could be a little more awkward with those that know me pretty well, but don't know about my early retirement plans. I haven't really had that talk with anyone I know in real life except my wife. And with people I know that are important to me and I have an ongoing relationship with, I can't just skate by with a half-truth or try to change the subject. They really want to know what I'm doing. I think I'm afraid that they'll be put off by what I'm doing, and it's awkward if they're still working with no plan to retire early for themselves. And if I'm not working a job anymore, that makes me some kind of other, something different that they can't relate to as easily anymore. I fear that the conversation is basically me saying, without actually saying, well, I'm rich, so I don't have to work anymore. But I don't feel rich, and I don't plan to use my money to live a very fancy lifestyle. It's going to be the same lifestyle that I've been living, just with more time on my hands, more freedom. I've also been thinking that I could frame my early retirement as a sabbatical where I might go back to work at some point, but for now I'm taking a break and looking for new opportunities. I think this is a way to frame it that is easier for people to understand, and it's true as well, which always helps. So those are my concerns about early retirement at this point. Now, I try not to dwell on these concerns too much, and to help me not worry about these things, I remind myself that the job market is always available to me. I can resign from my job and get another new one down the road. It's not that I'm giving up some six-figure salary here, so it should be easy to earn the income I need, especially when I'm starting with a large nest egg in place already. I really only need some supplemental income to smooth out any bumps that I might come across in early retirement, or make a little extra to cover any unexpected spending. As far as overspending and boredom goes, I'll continue to track my spending in early retirement, just like I do now, and if I see that it's getting out of hand, I'll pull back the reins and make the necessary adjustments. I'll see it coming ahead of time and I'll be able to change course. It's not like I'll blindly and suddenly fall off a financial cliff. You know, when I was young, my mom used to tell me that boredom is the sign of a boring mind. And I don't have a boring mind, and I trust that I'll find plenty of ways to keep myself engaged. Social connections, reading, learning, creating, solving problems for myself and for others. There are always interesting things to do in life, and I think that I'll end up establishing a daily or weekly routine to provide a sense of purpose, structure, and keep that boredom at bay. And when it comes to discussing my plans with others, I like to remind myself that it's my life. I don't owe anyone anything or need to meet anyone's expectations, except for perhaps my immediate family. Life is not a prison sentence where I must serve a certain amount of time in a job. If I want to save up a bunch of money and live without a job, that's perfectly okay. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'd rather try out early retirement and see where it leads than look back later in life and regret that I worked one more year and one more year after that and just wasted all this additional time doing unfulfilling work. When it comes to discussing my journey with others, I'll frame it positively. Talk about how there's more flexibility, I'm open to new opportunities, and I'll remain humble about it, that I was lucky and I'm enjoying this new chapter in my life. I'll share what I'm excited about now and what I've been up to, and if anything, I'll look to shift the focus from myself to others by asking about their careers, their plans, and what they're excited about. So those are my concerns and how I've been able to get past them so far. I wonder, what are your concerns about early retirement? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to know more about my vision for early retirement, I discuss it in more detail in this video here.